So, one of the things that I have a lot of clients ask me in our career work is how do you respond to employers or how do you present yourself to employers when you've had multiple jobs in a short period of time? My name is Kaylee, and I'm a licensed counselor and certified career counselor at the Lookout Point. And I like to offer information and tips about the things that I talk about every day in my appointments with my clients. So today I want to help you answer that question. How do you approach things when maybe you've had a lot of jobs that you've jumped from or to, or even if it's been a short job because of a negative experience with the previous employer or something like that? The first thing that I want to encourage you to do is think about why the interviewer is asking you this question. Typically, they're just trying to get a feel for if you are the kind of person who is invested in the job. They really do want to know if you're going to stick with it, and they want to hear how you talk about the work that you've done so far. And so, as you answer, please, please, please do not say, "Oh, it was a horrible place to work and I just knew it." That is not professional and it's not going to look good for you. Instead, if it was a negative experience, let's go with that example first. If it was a negative experience, what I want you to focus on is your growth and your desire to move forward. So, the way that I put it is always be thinking forward and talking forward about what you're doing as opposed to spending a lot of the time in the past. If you've had a negative work experience, it may be something where you say, I wasn't able to find a good fit, or I wasn't able to feel like that was the right fit for me in that position. And what I've learned through that experience is that I am someone who is dedicated to X, Y, or Z. And please tie this to the company where you're interviewing in that moment. If they are dedicated to customer service or loyalty or things like that, use those terminologies when you're answering this question. But as you start to talk about that, you then turn it around into, and that is what drew me to your company. I realized as I was looking forward in what was going to best serve me or what was going to best work for me, I knew that I was going to do well and I was going to serve my own employers well if I was in the right position. And so again, you're not just talking about yourself in that, you are thinking about them because they're thinking about them. They want to know, are you going to do the job for us? And so as you answer the question, make sure you are answering it in their terms. Now, the other thing that I would say is if you have jumped from job to job, and maybe, let's just take the example that maybe you were fired from one of them, because that can sometimes be a hard question to answer too. If you've been fired from a job and you need to answer that question about what happened at the previous work, I would again, first of all, be honest. If you feel that's appropriate, you can say it didn't work out and I was let go. Through that, again, talk about your learning experiences. Through that, I learned that I want to be more strategic with the jobs that I'm looking for. Another thing is, like I said, if you've had, let's say you've had 2 jobs in the last year and this is your 3rd job you're applying to, that becomes another question of why are you jumping from job to job? They're not going to say that, but they may think that. And so it's always important to first point out the obvious. I realize that I've had a couple of jobs very short term in the last year, and you may be wondering about that as you look at my resume. I just want to speak to that. I stepped in, I'm thinking, I like to think out loud, and at the moment I'm not thinking out loud. In case in point, I would encourage you to do your research and plan these answers out ahead of time. But in that instance, I would say something like, I realize that I have been in a couple of jobs. You can see from my resume, I've been in a couple of jobs in the last year, and they haven't worked out. And depending on the reasons, again, speak to either why it wasn't a good fit or speak to being let go or whatever it was. But very quickly, I encourage you again to focus forward and talk about what you have learned and how you are applying that knowledge to the new position. My hope is that the position where you're applying is one that you care about, deeply about, that you're excited about. And so focus on that piece. Focus on what's different about this job. What makes it so that you're going to stick with this one when you didn't stick with those two or three or whatever it is. Talk about the benefits and the good fit of that work. Talk about how you can serve that company well because of the things that you have learned. And again, always focusing forward. So I hope that these little tips have been helpful for you. If you have any questions or if you've had some positive or negative job experiences with interviews, please feel free to leave them in the comments down below. And until next time, take care.